YT Productions.
Yeah.
I love my HBCU, and boy, I love it, I love it, I love my HBCU, and man, I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah, man.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee State, and tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Cavil, Mike and Charles.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is still out on assignment. He's probably still taking care of business. You know, he came to Birmingham in Atlanta. You know, he has the ability. He kind of extends his trip a little bit. So, you know, some of us can do that. Some of us ain't got it like that. So we certainly excited that Mike was able to join us down there. So I'm gonna go straight to you before we get into our intro. And just let you say hello to the people.
Yeah, it's always great to be back on the Sports Lab. You know, we had a phenomenal time in Birmingham at the SWAC Media Day. So much to cover, a lot of stories to be told. And I tell you what, it's always a fun time to see your fellow colleagues in HBCU sports media. So I really enjoyed that.
No doubt about it. So welcome to episode 159 with that sweet intro by Professor Bishop. This is episode 159, as we said, of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're filming back from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, none other than Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. As you know by now, Tuesday, you saw us for our live programming, and we still snuck in and gave you a show that debuted the next day just to give you some insights of what took place in terms of what you may have not gotten live from the BCSN, as the whole team brought it to you live and heavy. Let me say first, congratulations to AD Drew. He's back in the watchbird's nest, taking care of us from a production standpoint, but congratulations as he signed up for the new nuptials, and just wanted to give him all the credit in the world. Did you want to share any love for that, Charles?
Oh, no doubt. Congratulations, AD. Welcome into the club, brother.
Man, they already got you. Thaddeus Reed say, oh, God, he got the ugly face. And what you doing in maroon? Tell him sometimes we show love for the home front, man. My goodness. There's plenty of love. We believe in branding HBCUs. That's what y'all don't understand with HBCU sports. We have our home front, we have our favorites, and obviously that's what we were birthed with, if you would, from our undergraduate perspective. But people must recall that we have postgraduate degrees for one thing, and then we show love for multiple HBCUs, as you'll see me proudly wearing other HBCU gear because I delivered across the nation and represent. So if I want to wear a different color, I don't have to wear all those other historically white collar universities. I find the one with HBCU that can deliver, and I can dress accordingly and represent that school for a while and keep it moving. But I get the point. I understand He does look a little funny over there in the room. What you got, Charles?
I can always count on my JSU folks to come after me if I got on anything other than that doesn't say Jackson State on it. So
Yeah, I don't blame them. They want to keep you straight. How did it go over with your interview with Jay Walker? Did they Sky Walker? Did they give you any good jabs with that?
did they? Oh, the jabs haven't stopped. You can always count. Hey, when Jay Walker shows up near anything with Jackson State, I can expect my DMs, my inbox, everything to go left. And guess what? He didn't disappoint.
Wow. Today's episode of Inside HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THC Agency LLC. THC Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Today's show will be a good one as we discuss the latest in HBCU news and sports. And boy, over just a short week, we have a lot of news. I'm going to start it off because I'm going to see if I can catch you off guard. But I know you do your homework, so maybe not so much. Edward Waters College gets the official word from the NCAA Division II. And we've known about this for a couple of weeks, but they asked us to keep it under wraps until they could do their official marketing plan. And boy, did they do it well. I'm literally getting ready to take off at the plane as we're getting ready to get to Birmingham by way of Jackson first, coming out of Houston. And they do a marvelous job in terms of the branding piece live on YouTube in terms of Edward Waters University now, which was announced last week. And then they double down this week and have the ratification that they are officially transitioning Division II, and thus their official admittance into the SIAC is sealed, wrapped, and delivered. What are your thoughts on Edward Waters University, EWU, becoming the only NCAA Division II program in the state of Florida?
No doubt about it. You mentioned it, the only Division II program in the state of Florida, trajectory moving up, going from Edward Waters College, Edward Waters University, now the conference affiliation and all the accoutrements that come with a conference affiliation. So kudos to people over at Edward Waters in terms of everything that they've been doing to build up their athletic profile.
With that being said, I think it's big. It's big with all the facility updates they have and the matchup. Let's stick with the SIAC. SIAC just came out, and then you had yesterday, you come out with a interview on CNN with Commissioner Moore of the SIAC talking about that the presidents and the SIAC for athletics has decided to mandate vaccination requirements for all college athletes. I think that is big news in multiple ways. For me personally, I could see the importance of making it, and he made a strong case for all the components of it when he was interviewed on CNN. I got a chance to talk to him prior to that, and he said it was coming, and he thought it was important to lead the way in terms of safety, continued safety. They were one of the first programs out the gate, i.e., even though it's at the Division II level, end up partnering with the CIAA to counsel all sports in terms of their season, specifically fall, ultimately the entire year because of COVID-19. Now they're moving forward, open up the season, and now they're up front in terms of litigating, in terms of requiring vaccination because of, as he said it, the association with athletes moving around the South in some of the most populated states, densest states, where people have lacked the vaccination. So you see all types of rates, COVID rates going up, hospitalization rates going up, unfortunately deaths going back up. And so he's talking about the fact that they travel through these areas and then they come back to the campus, and how important it is to not only have a safe environment for college athletes, but also for the students in the overall body. So I thought he made a heck of a statement in terms of doing that. What are your thoughts in terms of what does that mean generally for the public, or just the fact that he decided to get in front of that and the framework of what he may take for making that decision or being
Well,
a part of it?
Yeah, I thought he used unique verbiage, and you touched on it, Dr. Cavil, in terms of he's saying athletes being a unique stakeholder within the population at the university, stakeholders that travel for their athletic events. So he thought that it was important in terms of getting out in front of it to allow for those, not allow, but to mandate that those athletes be vaccinated because of their travel schedule and bringing, because they're going from state to state, especially within this southern region, bringing that back to campus. So it was important for those athletes to have those vaccinations in tow. So, and he made a very important point with regards to a lot of the, hesitancy for the African-American population to get vaccinated, where he touched on the Tuskegee experiment. And he mentioned the reality of it is that was medical malpractice that was disguised. And I thought that was a huge statement in terms of putting it out there to kind of help people kind of understand that, because so many times I've heard during the course of this pandemic that so many African Americans, they immediately point to, Tuskegee experiment and not want to get vaccinated because they don't want to seem as though they're a guinea pig. So I thought that was a very important distinction that he made with regards to the Tuskegee experiment. So, and I think, what we're going to see going forward is, I think not just colleges, but I think you'll have employment opportunities that become tied to vaccinations.
Yes, and what's intriguing about that's nothing really new.
Yeah.
College
Exactly.
students are required to get certain vaccinations. The fact that it's a COVID-19 added to those vaccinations is new, but various requirements for young students, elementary students, they have to get several shots before they're able to come into a school, first day, K through 12, all the way up, obviously to 12th grade. So the fact that you have to get certain types of shots for employment or to be able to enter into certain establishments is not new. So I think that is important to contextually put out there. But I think you're absolutely right when you talk about the fact that you're going to see a lot more employment guidelines mandating this. You've seen this for the hospitals. In fact, there's a report out there from the hospital people on the front line that are requiring it. And the courts came back and said that the company could do that, especially when you talk about the legal minds that we have in. A lot of people think about how they may be juxtaposed to what we're hearing about administrations, but one of the things that you often see that they side with is corporations as entities. And so this is going to follow in that line where they're more based lack on employment, more about the company side. It's going to be fascinating that people may not realize that the rights that they thought they would get in association of some of these judges in their positions, this is going to be a case where it's going to align again with the corporation to be able to make those decisions. The place that will get intriguing about that in state organizations, that may be more of a political line demarcation versus some federal organization, what they're able to do. But pure corporations, they're going to be able to dictate a lot of it. So it's going to be
No doubt about it.
Yeah. So great point to make there. Before we get into SWAC, because I want to do that after we get into the break a little bit, maybe the second half of the show, I want to get into a lot of the other news that's coming out here. We have breaking news, but I want to save that as we come out of the break. Big news. I'm excited about this. The second young gun is officially off the table as a tease. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We're going to take this quick break, and then we'll come back after the break and give you that breaking news for those that hadn't heard it. And I've seen some people that are talking about the congratulations. So a lot of our lab listeners, they're always on top of it. So they want to get our viewpoint for what that looks like. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Wash and Charles Bishop. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
They can follow their dreams.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Breaking news, Charles.
Yeah, breaking news, huge breaking news.
What you gonna break? What you gonna break?
Yeah, coming out of Birmingham today, Jason Cavil, who has been a frequent guest on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. He will be taking over the reins at Alabama State. He'll be leaving the SWAC office. So tremendous hire by Alabama State in terms of bringing in Dr. Cavil. He has obviously been on this show quite a bit, tremendously smart in terms of everything that he's done at the SWAC office. He's come up through the ranks in terms of being a SWAC athlete at Alcorn, worked in various administrative capacities when you talk about Livingstone, Savannah State, a couple of separate stops at Jackson State, and then to the SWAC office. And now he's ascended to take over the reins at Alabama State, one of the premier athletic programs in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
So excited about this news when you talk about Dr. Jason Cavil. As you see that movie, I like the little signature. You know, I do that signature. I'm gonna give him a hard time. He didn't took my little signature line and he didn't put it on his stuff. I told him I let him borrow some stuff. But in all seriousness, Dr. Jason Cavil, we forged a great relationship in terms of understanding consulting opportunities, whether it's scheduling that he did for football, basketball, other sports. He was in the forefront of that. He really helped in terms of doing the back work that allowed Dr. Charles McCullen to be able to go to the table with the coaches, then the ADs, and obviously the presidents and chancellors for ratification. He did a lot of that dirty work, if you would, in terms of really doing the strategic, tactical planning of what that looks like, and it's paid off. Also, the fact was, you know, he's been a bridesmaid to some point, you know, right up there, second finalist in a lot of ways at a couple of jobs. And now he finally gets over the hurdle. A good one. This is a big time program in regards to what they've been able to do all over sports in general. So he has the task to keep him at the top. Obviously, they want to see some more done on the men's basketball side, football. So he gets a chance to really put his fingerprint on that, if you would. So that should be fascinating to see what he's able to do there. But financially, it's a program that's strong. He has an opportunity to really do some good things there. Hopefully, I have an opportunity to continue to work with him because he's brilliant. What's interesting is the next question, Charles. What is that?
Well, obviously, when you have one domino fall, then other dominoes kind of start trickling down as well. So there will be immediate speculation on who will become the number two, if you will, in the SWAC office, because that was sort of the position that Dr. Cavil had. And you mentioned all the strategic work that he did behind the scenes. They're going to have to bring in another enterprising, bright mind that can continue the legwork that Dr. Cavil was doing behind the scenes, so that our SWAC Commissioner Charles McCullough can get out in front of things. So this will be a very interesting look-see to who comes to the SWAC office.
No doubt about it. He was the senior associate commissioner for administration. As far as I understand, he was basically second in charge. When Charles, to let you know how much trust and how much work he was putting in, you've seen the last two tournaments, right? You didn't have any problems with it. Well, guess what? Guess who was in charge of that? Because if you recall, Dr. Charles McCullough, the commissioner of the SWAC, was in New York earlier last year when COVID broke out, obviously. And this year, as they put everything in the bubble in Indianapolis, he was part of that team. So he had to go in early to be a part of the selection process to make sure, and then ratify and watch, dictate, provide the leadership framework for the tournament. So he was away for the tournament this year. And one of the main people that were responsible of doing the leadership role in that capacity was none other than Senior Associate Commissioner for Administration, that is Dr. Jason Cavil, now the newest Director of Athletics at Alabama State University as it becomes official. Wow, big time. Young Guns, just last week, you get the nod over there at Grambling State with Dr. Travion Scott ascending to the top role from his deputy athletic director position over there, chief operating officer, I should say, as well. But now he's the VP of athletics, intercollegiate athletics at Grambling State. So the young guns that I speak of, that I told everybody the last couple of years, if they would listen to me, these are guys that you need to keep your eyes on. They will be leading a program, preferably for me, a HBCU program. And wow, in the SWAC, man, you're talking about two great programs, two great leaders. It'll be fascinating to see where this goes on. And these are folks that are going to push and continue to elevate the SWAC when you talk about the other young guns that they come up now and get to lather in some of that mix. VP of Intercollegiate Athletics at none other than Jackson State University. VP, and that is Ashley Robinson, for those that don't know. I know all our listeners do. Then you have the VP of Athletics of Florida A&M, now a member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, right? Just the name of some of those young guns, boy, I tell you. And then right here in our backyard, Texas Southern University VP of Athletics, Kevin Granger.
Yeah.
Man, after conference has these dynamic young folks that have energy and want to see some leverage about how they push the envelope of supporting athletics. So it's going to be fascinating for me to continue to watch what is going on. Any final thoughts on that, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating when you have all these bright business minds that are involved in terms of being vice presidents of intercollegiate athletics at these various institutions. They think branding, they think marketing, and it's good to see them sort of get in positions to where they can continue to push and elevate their respective schools.
Startling, no doubt about it. Some other breaking news. In the opposite direction, you said somebody new comes in. We have somebody that's put a lot of years of work clocking out, if you would. What do you say about that other breaking news?
No doubt, and this happened while we were at SWAC Media Day, but Dr. Dennis Thomas, who completed his 19th year as commissioner of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, announced that he will be retiring in December. So he's the longest tenured commissioner in the 50-year history of the MEAC. And I tell you what, this is a statement from him. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve as commissioner of the MEAC for almost 20 years. But first, I must pay homage to my parents, Russell and Marjorie Thomas, for setting the direction, expectation, and accountability for my brothers, sisters, and myself. Without their guidance, discipline, and unconditional love, I would dare not think the path I would have taken. So, you know, Dr. Dennis Thomas, he has been a stalwart within the HBCU athletics for so long, one of the guiding forces in terms of the Celebration Bowl that we now get an opportunity to watch and enjoy over the past 5 years. So, you know, he's done so much with regards for HBCU athletics.
Then you had the news of the CIAA as we get into that. So that's some interesting things. Before we do that, another administrative move that we're hearing is the massive admin change at Bethune-Cookman University. Nothing really official, but you hear all this outside. And then obviously directly what we're hearing that is not official, but certainly coming from some good sources, along with what you see from HBCUGameday, from that fine report, also provides the framework that difficult, challenging times for some individuals at Bethune-Cookman University in terms of the massive administration layoffs, specifically in athletics. So it's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like from that perspective of Bethune-Cookman on the heels of excitement with them coming to SWAC. And then you have the retirement for Lynn Thompson, which is another question when you talk about, who's going to be now the first man up or woman up for the SWAC office in terms of the senior administrative position, who is going to go into the role of the commissioner for the MEAC. One of the names out there that some people have thought about for a while, and certainly after his retirement, people were considering that, and even more so after this, what many people thought was somewhat of a surprise announcement from Dr. Dennis Thomas. Is Lynn Thompson going to be filling that role? You have the second in charge, currently the MEAC. It was intriguing that the announcement is made that he will retire officially in December. So that's a short time to try to do a search. So do they have somebody in place by December? Does the second in charge get a chance to maybe put their name in the hat and show on the job some training for maybe the next second part of the academic year, the spring, if you would? And so that's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like. Or will they go off the radar? Will they copy what we've seen in the SWAC, for lack of better words, from getting a young, dynamic athletic director / vice president of athletics and move them up into the commissioner role to see if they can seize on what they see, the momentum taking place in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So I'm fascinated to see with that. Women's first. What about Dr. Ingrid McCree of what she's doing at North Carolina Central University? Vice president of athletics over there. She's been very strong, stalwart. Obviously has commanded the stage in terms of putting North Carolina center, transitioning that program from Division II to Division I successfully. We didn't quite see the same thing with Savannah State or Winston-Salem State. So she's been able to navigate that. She has a lot of respect out there generally. So is that a name that we should consider and keep our eyes on? And obviously this is the consulting side of what we talk about, the business side of this, what I thought about. So this is just nothing that I dig deep or confirm with those individuals. Obviously, the official search, but those are some short names that come to the list for me that I think would be people that at least consider. Let me go back to you and get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the names that you touched on, Ingrid McCree, Dr. Lynn Thomas, they're giants within the Mideastern Athletic Conference. In terms of what they've been able to do at their respective schools. But this will be a fascinating search to see who takes on this MEAC job and takes on where they are right now. A lot of people thought that, over the past couple of years that, went kind of in a down trajectory, but they've emerged again. They're ready to go for this upcoming fall season, and it should be interesting to see where the MEAC goes from here. But I think there are definitely some strong candidates that are sitting out there. And like you said, Dr. Cavil, it's going to be really interesting to see if there is a young gun, another individual like some of the names that we've mentioned that sort of ascends to this throne over there in the MEAC.
Any names outside of what I have out there? Any names that you intrigued about that? Did Ashley Robinson spend any time in the MEAC?
And it's a very funny thing that you say because his name just gets floating around all over the place. I've gotten so many texts since the announcement with Dr. Cavil this afternoon in terms of what does that mean for Jackson State? What does that mean for Jackson State? Well, the commissioner job's on the MEAC. Wait, slow down, hold on. Let's let things simmer just a bit before you come jumping after A.D. Ashley Robinson. But definitely his name is one of those names that's been floating around all over the place. And you know how A.D. Robinson is. He doesn't let too much get away from the chest. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was going to sneak that out of you a little bit. Let's we'll come back and talk a little bit about the football news. Obviously, what everybody wants to talk about is Swag Media Day. We'll get into that, get your thoughts after a couple of days removed from it to see what changed place. We've seen now the television package come out, so we can talk about that. CIAA obviously canceled the media virtual day, but they did release their preseason football teams in the vote, so we can get in a little bit of that in the second half of the show. So stick with us. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back after this quick break going into halftime. Let's go come back for the second half of the show. Stick with us so we can give you some more insights.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. On Facebook at the Carlos Brown Show and Black College Sports Network. Online at www.mybcsn.net and on the BCSN app available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get down.
Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment, still taking care of business. As I teased going into the break, I wanted to talk a little bit about the CIAA Annual Football Media Day in regards to their predicted order of finish. Let me get into where I want to start. Tell us those top teams, what it looks like. Let's start at the bottom. 12 teams, and then we'll go all the way up, ascend to predicted order finish for the number 1 team. Shouldn't be any surprise, number 1 spot. Maybe some people may look twice at the second spot, but they were right there with it. But let's see. Number 12, St. Augustine's. I see the look. You a little surprised. Number 11, Livingstone. Number 10, Lincoln, Pennsylvania. Number 9, Winston-Salem State. Number 8, Johnson C. Smith. Look. Number 7, finishing off the bottom half is Elizabeth City State. At number 6 is Shaw. Number 5 is Virginia Union. Number 4, Virginia State. Number 3, Shawan. And number 2, Fayetteville State. Number 1, no surprise here for me, Bowie State. I do see the look on your face, so there's certainly some concerns that you have. So I want to hear what on this predicted order of finish has you with the really look on your face right now.
Oh, well, you know what? I think it Bowie State and Fayetteville State, I think definitely are the odds-on favorites, but Shawan, I think they could be the fly in the ointment, if you will. Just looking at some of the first team selections, and I kept coming across Shawan, and I was like, oh, okay. They got some ball players over there, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see over there in the CIAA if there is a team that is worthy to knock off Bowie State, because they have been the team to beat over the past at least 3 years now with regards to their offensive explosion, what they are able to do on the offensive side of the ball. No drop off at quarterback. When you take a look at a quarterback like Jerome Johnson, he came right in and he picked right up where the reins were left off. So it should be, I think, Bowie State's CIAA to win and everybody chasing the Bulldogs.
Good point there when you talk about what that looks like with the Bulldogs. No doubt, as they certainly would have been my selected favorite in terms of what that looks like. In terms of some of the players to watch, anybody come to mind, surprise you in terms of some of those players that they have, the top teams of players to watch coming in this season in the CIAA? Anything jumps off at you that you want to bring our attention to?
For me, definitely running back Deshaun Wethington from Shawan. I think he's definitely a player to keep an eye on. Joshua Pryor, defensive lineman from Bowie State. That's another name that you'll probably hear that should get some NFL buzz. You also, I think you want to take a look at Dimitri Morcell. He is a defensive back. He is a ball hawk. Led CIAA in interceptions when we last saw the CIAA playing football in 2019. So those are at least three names that I think should jump out in terms of CIAA fans this upcoming season.
No, point well taken. When you break it down in terms of the Northern and Southern Division, the predicted order of finish would suggest that Bowie State will face off against Fayetteville State. The matchup we had 2 years ago should be another fascinating one. This time we'll see if Fayetteville State can finally get over the hurdle. They've been pushing it in a lot of ways from that perspective. So it's fascinating to see what goes on there. Let's get into what a lot of people wanted to hear about. Obviously, we were all in it in so many different ways. SWAC Football Media Day. Now that you've had a chance to kind of step back from it a little bit, what were your thoughts in terms of the SWAC Media Day?
Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, they're not going to take a back seat to anybody. They're ready to come in and they're ready to knock some heads in the SWAC. So looking forward to what they are able to do over there in their Eastern Division. Dr. Bill, that Eastern Division has gotten so much tougher with the addition of FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, but you just kind of take a look up and down the defending SWAC champions. Let me not overlook them. Alabama A&M, Will Glass, and his bevy of receivers. The question with Alabama A&M, will they have the defense? Because they lose a young man that left and went to Florida State, one of their best defensive linemen. You take a look at Alabama State. We talked about it in the recap show in terms of Alabama State's offensive line and how they are able to take over games. And when you have time of possession running back like Ezra Gray, who can literally give you 20, 25, 30 carries, and they can control the clock. They're going to be a tough team. And then Alabama State plays defense. Two of the hard-nosed linebackers in the conference. A resurgent Jackson State that has pretty much flipped over the team from spring. So they were extremely confident coming into SWAC Media Day with Coach Prime, Coach Sanders, and Shador Sanders. All eyes will be on him, but he's just one of those different freshmen that I think is ready for the job. I saw some people had some comments with regards to, he made a couple of comments in regards to playing Southern. So, but, that's just the kind of chip that he has on his shoulder. He exudes a bevy of confidence. And then you take a look at Florida A&M. They're ready. Marquise Bell is a big guy. I got a chance to see him up close, and I was struck by his size. He's playing safety. He's a ball hawk. He gets around all over the place, and then he can come down in the box and make a lot of tackles. So Florida A&M is going to be a team that, everybody's going to keep an eye on. Speedy receiver, one of the fastest receivers in the conference, and Xavier Smith. So SWAC East, resurgent. Then we take a look at everything that is the SWAC West now with Alcorn State going over there, Felix Harper, LaCharles Pringle, Nico Duffy. Do they have the offensive line? When we last saw Alcorn, they are going to be replacing 4 starters along the offensive line. Southern brings back a bevy, and this is a team built to win. So, you saw them with, I forgot the number of all SWAC selections, first and second team, but it was dotted with Southern Jaguars. Then you take a look at UAPB was picked to finish where? 5th in the SWAC West? Amazing. And they were the representative in the SWAC championship. So you know, I'm sure that was more than enough motivation for Doc Gamble. And you know, we talked to him. He's not taking a backseat to anybody on the SWAC West. Prairie View with what they bring back on defensive side of the ball. Can they get over the hump? And you know, $1 million question with Grambling. You know, can they get up on
YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that SWAC, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to
Great points you're making there. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out of the studio on assignment, so I have Charles Bishop jumping in here. And as you focus on the television schedule for the SWAC, as we talk about 23 of the 26 games, in a lot of ways are the conference games, and of those 26 conference games, 23, as I said, are going to be broadcast live on television. 3 of them are tape delayed. You mentioning and focus on also some of the excitement in terms of the non-conference games to make this robust. The other thing that's interesting to me is that's not all the games. So it'll be interesting to see as we hear that there is a goal to about getting more games on television. Will that be about the SWAC digital network, or will that be in regards to other outlets getting an opportunity to broadcast these games? As we move from the broadcasting television, I wanted to opine on some things. So if you allow me to jump on this, obviously you can resonate with it, but I wanted to get a little chance to get this off my chest a little bit because it just didn't sit right with me. The first thing in a lot of ways was in regards to Dr. Thomas and his retirement and how they came on the same day of the SWAC news. And not so much about his retirement, because he certainly has the need and he's done such great work to do that. But the fact that it took away some of the focus in terms of SWAC, Media Day, the Celebration Bowl, the HBCU, the fact that you have Game Day that's coming to Atlanta to open things up. Obviously is big in terms of what's going on. Obviously, First Take that Friday before is coming on during being in Atlanta. That's big news. So I wanted to get that out there. But more really that what troubled me in a lot of ways is the news that I heard about the Clarion Ledger, and it's kind of hard for me to even mention that name because of the way they did it. The framework of how they decided to tilt that story really tells me the importance about having your own outlets and being able to focus on having media sources that provide a cultural, responsible framework of differences. Not anything that means that these differences are deficient. So most of our followers know by now what that looks like. In this case, it was an interview with a journalist, and I say that loosely at this point, seriously, that decided to call Dion Coach Prime, Coach Sanders by his first name. No big deal if you choose to do that. Certainly, it's different culturally what you're used to, and I'll get a chance to opine on that a little more. But from the fact that Coach Prime, Coach Sanders asked him not to do it, and he decided to do it anyway. There is a historical trope associated with European white Americans or individuals that can classify themselves as that, and blacks and African Americans that were literally hung, lynched for using or calling people outside of their name or wanting to be called by a prefix title, if you would. So that had some concern to me. And then you had these other media sources, and not all of them were white or European American for that fact, that decided to double down in regards to suggesting that in their journalistic approach of covering coaches that they have been able to call these coaches by their first name. One, they didn't provide any context to suggest that in that business that they've been in the business and covering those coaches for a long time. So those were relationships that were built when they were using the first name of whoever they were coaching with. And it does acknowledge that they have called them coaches before as well, in some cases. Furthermore, it does not provide any context for the cultural nuances that you see in the African American or black community, where using titles and prefixes from K through 12 all the way to higher education is extremely important for that culture. And it has been in part of that culture when you talk about the governance structure versus the social structure in terms of what's going on there. So that is extremely important to me to provide that point when you look at it like that. And what do I mean by that? Teachers, preachers, professors, if you allow me to use that, have always in this culture been referred to by their prefix or title. Coach this, Mr., Mrs. that, Reverend this, right? And that's not even in terms of the fraternity and sororities in the organizations where you refer to people as brother this or sister that in terms of reverence in this governance structure, which is important contextually to put that out there of why that may be important to culture relevance. And to ignore that by doubling down and saying and teasing out there that Nick had his media day and was asked a question to stir up the mix even more. And he talked about that he didn't care, but he did say that anybody has the right to ask to be called what they wanted to. But people chose to ridicule and bring somebody down in their space because they had the ability to do that. And I think that's using the media incorrectly in terms of doing your research of why there may be cultural differences and why those differences could be important. And so I wanted to take some time to really jump in that because I thought it was important to talk about cultural memory and why that is important. HBCU media, black media with a preference of elevating the culture inside of that and not feeling that it has to be associated with the normative properties associated with other mass media, if we can frame it that way. So that was important for me to put on the table and allow you to know what that looks like. So I'm going to close on that note. I'll give you the chance to respond next week a little more on that, but I wanted to take a little personal privilege and put that on the floor. I know you have some additional context, Charles, that you'll be able to share maybe as early as this weekend Sunday if we do a show of the matter, but certainly next Tuesday on our traditional time. But with that, I want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the HBCU lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. We hope you enjoyed the interview as we just bounce things back and forth between the two of us, really talking about the HBCU news of the day. But again, I want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. That's every Tuesday and Thursday right here at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube, obviously on Facebook as well. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Of course, Charles,
Lecture.
dismissed.